This video is intended to be one of the best videos for beginners to learn how to change their oil. Now, if you have some experience changing oil, please watch the entire video. Write in the comments some of your experiences and maybe how they're a little different than what I do, or maybe find something that I did wrong or you thought I did wrong, and put a comment and explain to us so that we have a great resource for beginners. Number one, you need to learn how to safely lift your vehicle if necessary. Now, my vehicle, I really don't need to lift the vehicle. I did put it up on some blocks of wood just to get it a little higher off the ground. It's a little more comfortable. I'm not as skinny as I used to be, so it does help a little bit, but I really don't need to lift the vehicle. You can use ramps, you can use jack stands, something like that, but please do it safely, and we're not going to spend that time on this video, so please learn how to do that yourself. Number two, find the oil drain plug location. You can usually look in the owner's manual and give you a good diagram, and that'll get you a start. Make sure you don't misidentify the plug. You wouldn't want to try to change your oil and then drain the transmission fluid, for example. So make sure you got the right plug. Then find out what socket size you need for that particular bolt that's securing the oil plug. It might be that you have to get under the car to do this, but you got to get under the car anyways to change your oil. Number three, find your oil fill cap and dipstick location. Generally, they're both under the hood, and you can find the location in your owner's manual. But keep in mind that some modern cars don't even have a dipstick, but they will have an oil fill location. Number four, look up the oil fill capacity and the type of oil that you need to use. Now, for my car, I can find right in the owner's manual the oil type that I would need to use. It's a 5W30 oil. Most new cars, you can just find it on the oil fill cap. It'll tell you directly there what oil to use on the fill cap itself. For oil capacity, you can almost always find that in the owner's manual as well. Now, for my car, if you take a look here, it lists 5.1 liters, but I'm in the United States, so we use quarts, U.S. customary system quarts, not imperial quarts. You gotta get the difference. But anyway, it says 5 3/8 quarts. So I have to do a little bit of math. You see, there are 16 ounces in a pint and 2 pints in a quart, so that means there are 32 ounces in a quart. So if I take the 3/8 fraction and multiply it by 4/4, I get 12 out of 32, so that means that I need 5 quarts and 12 ounces. I think those of you that live in a country that uses the metric system, which is pretty much every other country, are probably rolling your eyes right now at the ludicrousness of doing this. And I agree with you. I hope the US at one point wholly switches to the metric system. Number five, and this is vitally important. Used motor oil is very dangerous for the environment. It really, really ruins a water table. Just a little bit of used oil can really destroy the water in your area. So find a recycle location. Now, in my particular location, I can recycle oil at any auto parts store. They all accept used motor oil. I also have county facilities, county hazardous waste facilities. I have two that are relatively nearby, and I can take the used oil to those locations as well. But it's vitally important that you find a recycle location before you start changing your oil, because you do not want to dump this someplace else. It really, really wrecks the environment. Number six, the oil drain plug comes with a gasket attached to it. It's usually a metal gasket, either aluminum or copper, and you want to replace that gasket. Can you reuse it? Yeah, sometimes, but it might not seal properly. It's best to replace it every time, and those oil plug gaskets are not terribly expensive. Mine cost me about 20 cents each if I buy them online. I usually use Rock Auto, but Amazon will have them, and I'm sure there's other places as well. Just look up for an oil plug gasket for your particular vehicle. Number seven, buy enough of the oil for your particular application. Make sure you get the right type of oil, and make sure you buy enough so that you don't leave it half full. On the table here with all the supplies that I'm going to need, I have two 5-quart containers, so I have plenty. One of the 5-quart containers isn't completely full, so that's why the second one is there, and plus Remember, I need 5 quarts and 12 ounces. I buy it in the 5-quart containers because it is much cheaper. I could buy the single quart containers and buy 6 of them, but it's actually much cheaper to buy the 5-quart containers. And that's why I buy it in the 5-quart containers. Number 6, buy the correct oil filter or oil filter kit for your engine. You can do a search online. Any of the auto parts stores will have a way you can search online. You can pick a particular brand and go to that brand's website and do a search for the oil filter that would be good for you. A lot of the stores, even like my local Menards, which is a home improvement store, sells oil filters, and I can go on their website and do a search and find the right oil filter for my car. Some cars use an oil filter cartridge. It has the housing built into the engine, and you need a cartridge to fill that in. So it's kind of like a bare paper or cellulose, sometimes synthetic fiber filter that you put in there. Some of those also come with gaskets for the oil plug. Some also come with O-rings for the filter housing to refresh that O-ring that comes with it. Definitely replace those if that's necessary on your vehicle. Number 9, buy any additional oil tools and equipment that you may need to do the job. I have a whole video on oil change tools and equipment, so you can look in that one up there. I think that's the right side. But anyway, look at it in the description. There is a link to that video. Number 10, park your vehicle on a firm, level surface to facilitate the oil change. If you need to lift the vehicle, particularly with jacks and even with ramps, it needs to be a firm, level surface so that nothing sinks into the surface that's lifting the vehicle. Number 11, put the oil catch pan underneath the drain plug bolt and remove the drain plug bolt. Keep in mind that if it's a really hot engine, this is going to really be hot and might burn you. I suggest using some nitrile gloves, but you can do it without that. It's just best to use nitrile gloves. The used oil can cause health issues, especially later on in life. So I would suggest using gloves. Still, I wouldn't do it with a really hot engine. What I'm doing here, the engine was driven today, but I just went to the store. It's a local store. It's not too far away. And that was about an hour or hour and a half ago. So it's cooled down slightly. It's warm, but not too hot. If you're coming from it cold, run the engine maybe 3 to 5 minutes. Just go around the block. Seriously, just take it out, drive around the block and come back, and then you can probably change the oil. You don't really need to do that unless it's really cold outside. If it's really cold outside, you definitely need to warm it up a little bit before you change the oil. Number 12, this is really important. Remember that oil plug gasket I was talking about before? Well, you need to take the old one off. It could be on the oil plug itself, the metal plug, it's a bolt, could be on there, but it could be stuck to the oil pan. That sometimes happens. That's why I like the copper ones, because it's a different color than the gray metal that the oil pan is made from, and it's easy to tell if it's stuck on the oil pan or if it's actually on the bolt itself. But you need to remove that because we are going to install a new oil plug gasket to replace that one. So number 13 is put that new oil plug gasket on right now and then set the oil plug bolt aside and let this oil drain. It's going to take a while to drain. Now, some of you veterans might say, oh yeah, but you didn't remove any caps or anything. That's because it drains slower when the caps and the oil filter are in place. So I like to remove the drain plug first, and then we'll go on to do those other things. So number 14, remove the oil fill cap, and that will let air into the system. It'll probably drain a lot faster when that oil fill cap is removed. Number 15, remove the oil filter. Now, my oil filter is quite difficult to get to. There's a little hole that has a panel over it, and you can take the 2 screws out and remove that panel, and you can reach up with the oil filter. But I have found, since I don't actually have a lift to lift the vehicle up like a commercial operation, I need to get at the oil filter from the side. That seems to be the best option in my case. And there is a little trough that the oil filter is supposed to drain into, and then it drips down, and it's supposed to catch all the oil that comes out of the oil filter, and it never does. I end up doing lots of cleaning because it just sprays oil all over the place when I take the oil filter out. I just live with it, and I make sure I clean it up. That's why I have some brake cleaner and some paper towels so that I can clean that mess up when I do that. Number 16, make sure to put a little oil on that rubber seal that came with your new oil filter. If you don't do that, that rubber will probably stick to the oil pan, and boy, is it a bear to remove. So make sure you put a little oil on that seal. For number 17, you want to install the new oil filter. Now, if you have an oil filter that is what I call upside down, you can fill it with oil and then put it in and twist it on. Mine is the other way. It's facing down, so it would literally drain all the oil out if I put any oil in there to begin with, so it's not possible to do that. It depends on where the oil filter is in your car. Honestly, I don't think it matters all that much. Keep in mind that the people that have the cartridge system, there's no way they can fill that with oil, so I don't think it really matters that much. It does matter if you oil that rubber gasket though. The other thing is you don't want to over tighten it because you actually want to be able to remove it, and you don't want to damage any of the threads or anything. So what you do is you twist it on till it just barely touches. So twist on till it just barely stops, just real lightly, and then go 3/4 of a turn additional. That's generally what works with most spin-on oil filters. Number 18, wait for the oil to drain. It might take a while for the oil to drain. You want it to drain to a decent drip. Give it some time. Maybe go clean some of the stuff up, or go do something else, or use a bathroom or something like that. But let it drain a good 5 or 10 minutes to make sure it drains as much as it can. You'll never get all of the oil out, but it's good to let it drain for a while. Once it's sufficiently drained, reinstall the oil plug and tighten it down. Now, it does not have to be Gorilla Tight. That's why it has a gasket on it. It needs to be snug. So again, twist it on till it just touches and go a little bit extra. Now, you can use a torque wrench. They do have torque values in the owner's manual sometimes. You can use a torque wrench to torque it. I never do. I got a good feel for it. I've been doing it for years, and I just tighten it snug, just enough. Number 19, oh boy, this is an important step. You got to make sure you add the correct amount of oil to your engine. Now, as you saw before, I bought 2 5-quart containers, and one isn't even completely full anymore because I have half used it. I use this measuring pitcher and the measuring cup to get the correct amount of oil in my engine. So I go 5 quarts. So with that gallon measuring cup, I usually put in 3 quarts for the first go around. Then I put in 2 quarts and add 12 ounces from the measuring cup, and then I can put that in the engine. You really do need a funnel here because you don't want to spill. It's a mess, and you got to clean it up if you do spill. Paper towels are good for this, so is brake cleaner, but try not to spill. It's best if you don't spill. So number 20, reinstall the oil fill cap and then check the oil level on the dipstick. It should be close to full, but if it's not if it's a little teeny bit overfilled, that's okay. It shouldn't be way overfilled though. Now, it might be that it goes down a little bit or up a little bit once you start the engine, so that's what we're going to do next. Step number 21 is to start the engine for about 20 or 30 seconds usually. Make sure the light on the dashboard that indicates low oil pressure has gone off. That means it has proper oil pressure. Once that light goes off, you can shut off the engine, but wait about 20 or 30 seconds. Now, you do need to recheck the oil level, but you should wait a little bit. So number 22 is wait for about 10 minutes before you check the oil one last time. It's also good to check under the car. Make sure that there's no oil leaks underneath the car at this point, because if there is, you've forgot something. You didn't tighten the oil filter or the oil drain plug properly, and it's leaking oil. It shouldn't if you did it the way I explained, but you always check underneath the engine just in case. While you're waiting for the 10 minutes, you can get the car off the jack stands or drive it off the ramps or whatever. You can clean up all your things. And then once you've done that, it's probably about 10 minutes, and then you can check the oil one last time. Remember to wipe off the dipstick first, then put it back in, and then read it so you get a proper fresh reading on that dipstick. If you don't know how to read a dipstick, it is in your owner's manual. It'll tell you how to read the dipstick on your particular vehicle. That's it. I hope you enjoyed watching. Please like and subscribe and come back for more informative videos.